Originally, we were told that the Titans arrived just before the World Soul was corrupted and managed to save it in the last moment. But what if this was never the case and the old gods actually accomplished their mission? Why were they building their Black Empire and battling each other and doing everything but their job? Maybe because they had already done it. Most recently, we were told that a fifth old god exists and that the Titans hid something beyond the waves. They may have isolated this fifth one, Azeroth, tried to revert it. This might even be why they created a destruction mechanism in Ulduar, because if this ended up not working, so everything will just blow up and will be destroyed. The material Azerite is eerily similar to Selenite from Yogg-Saron. The name Azeroth is based on Azathoth, which is from the Lifecraft mythos that all the old gods are based on. Recently, we got Her Dreams Sing Beneath the Surface, Our Dreams, Our Song, Whisper from the Zod. We even had Sargeras, who was on a crusade to eliminate the old gods that once split a void planet, trying to split Azeroth because he might have known that the corruption cannot actually be reverted. I know this is a bit of a crazy theory, but could this be the reality? Could Azeroth in fact be the fifth old god? Before we get into it, I want to show you guys something super cool, and that is HelloFresh, this video's sponsor. Essentially, you can save your money and your time grocery shopping, as HelloFresh will deliver fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and recipes right to your doorstep with a huge discount with my link below. You can personalize your meal plan so that it fits your goals, you'll get recipes how to cook it, so it's super fun, and most importantly, you'll save a lot of time and money going grocery shopping. So try HelloFresh, click my link below for a special limited time crazy discount plus free shipping. So at first when I read this theory, I was definitely thinking this is just super crazy, like this was written by the CEO of Reaching. However, when I really got into the details, it actually makes a lot of sense. Not all of it may be true, some aspects may actually be real, but this could definitely lead into the future with the Warcraft. So the most important thing to keep in mind is that the old gods, while cool, are definitely not an original creation of Blizzard. In fact, most of it is based on the Lovecraft mythos, and this has never really been a secret, it's been pretty open. Personally, I'm not too familiar with this series, but there are a ton of obvious similarities. We have Yogg-Saron, Yogg-Sothoth, we have N'Zoth, Zotamog, we have Khatun, Cthulhu, and these are just some of the similarities. Most importantly, we have Azeroth, that is named after Azathoth, whose entire story is about endless slumber, and all of reality would be unmade if this awakening happened. Of course, we can base this off a different series, but let's be real, what I just described is pretty much the entire story of the World Soul as we know it today. Now, the lore around this World Soul stuff has been changing since forever, and Blizzard is now purposefully doing all these various angles so we get the various perspectives of what is actually going on. However, in the most recent interview, we heard directly from Steve Denuser that the old gods are not really what the Chronicle made them out to be. Originally, we were told they were sent to corrupt the planet, but even if that was their original goal, they're known to change goals and allegiances on the fly, so they may not even be following the Void Lords at this point in time, and as far as we know, at the moment, they might have even rebelled. Now, a really interesting point is that if we say that the original statement is true, and that is that the Void Lords created the old gods in order to corrupt souls, Chronicle stated that other old gods were sent to other planets. In fact, this is really what got Sargeras to go crazy. He saw a full-on old god-infested planet, one that was successful, and he decided to just split it open and just destroy the entire thing. This was back when he was a Titan, and the Titans really didn't like when he did this. They were really not a fan of the just go with a sword and destroy the planet approach. So you may be wondering, if the old gods were just sent as tools to corrupt the planet, why would they be building an empire, fighting each other, making all these alleged advancements and cities that the Titans deleted from history, if their only goal was to corrupt? Like, they were literally doing everything else but their mission. Maybe because they were actually successful. They completed their mission and a fifth old god was created. Now, the Titans realized this, they couldn't really cope with this fact. Sargeras realized that an old god corrupted world couldn't be turned into a Titan and that it just had to be destroyed and everything had to be made from scratch, but the Titans didn't really believe this was the case, and this might have been the main splitting point. The Titans thought they were more powerful, but then they started learning the truth once they really delved deep. At the time, they knew nothing about the old gods, so first they ripped out Y'Shaarj realized these guys cannot be killed, they need to be imprisoned. Later, it was confirmed that they can't even be imprisoned because obviously they have been doing all these crazy things for years, such as the Curse of Flesh, the Emerald Nightmare, the corruption of the Keepers, Deathwing, and just a whole bunch of other things. We even know the Titans went crazy on one of these experiments trying to just figure out how do these guys work exactly so they can remove them, but they accidentally created a Hoon that we recently had to fight. However, what if this entire story was actually just BS? What if the Titans arrived on a planet when the world soul was already turned into an old god? They got rid of the Corruptors and then they tried their best to isolate and cleanse Azeroth. Most recently, in the new 10.0.7 document that Neltharion had figured out, we got a first quote that says that the Titans hid something beyond the waves, despite saying that they managed to completely order the planet to the general public, which has really been a lie. This could strongly indicate this part where Azeroth was an old god had to be hidden and just pumped up with all these mechanisms to just undo the corruption. Then, even more interestingly, in another document, we got them talking about how the Will of Eternity was created, and the note said this: the Titans wounded the world with their recklessness, then insisted it was done by design. Preposterous. It was the old gods who nurtured the flesh of this world, not the Titans. Keep in mind this line that the old gods nurtured the flesh of this world, not the Titans. The current theory is that Azeroth is actually elemental in nature and that the various cosmological forces are trying to just turn it to their side to corrupt it. Now, when I say Azeroth could be an old god, I don't really mean this in a literal sense. The Chronicle lore told us that essentially trying to create a Void Titan, so this would be like the ultimate old god, the old god final boss, the old god CEO. Now, the only difference with this theory is that they may have been half successful and this part had to be isolated so that it doesn't fully become a thing. Now, in order to not ramble, we actually have even further super interesting hints. For example, we know that the blood of Yogg-Saron is called Selenite and it was used to create weapons and armor as it was super potent. Well, the blood of Azeroth is called Azerite and it had pretty much the exact same properties. Then we had the recent documents that talked about how the Titan Keepers completely deleted and just demonized the Black Empire. This might have been done so that no one finds out that the old gods were actually successful because everyone would just panic. It even makes sense why they created that mechanism in Ulduar that would wipe out the planet if it actually ended up being corrupted and the old gods fully accomplished it. Essentially, they tried their best to convert it, but if it just ended up not working whatsoever, there would be a mechanism that would do it the Sargeras way. Furthermore, we have the biggest hint, and that is Sargeras and his sword. Remember how Sargeras was like the Titan warrior guy that went across the universe, defeated the Titan enemies? Well, he realized that the Titan goal was futile, that it couldn't be accomplished, that it couldn't be reverted, there is not a magic in the world that can revert the void, so he just wanted to destroy it. Since the Titan plan failed, he was trying to invade Azeroth with his Burning Legion, and most recently, he attempted to just do it the old school way, which is why he decided to stab Azeroth a few years back. Now, the theory gets even more insane. So, we had the Sylvanas, this world is a prison, and I will set our soul free, and the entire jailer mumbo jumbo. Well, this might have been referring to this corruption. The jailer talking about what is to come might be the Void Titan awakening and the old god plan finally being successful, which is why he wanted to get rid of Azeroth so that the Void doesn't take over the Death Realm. We even have further confirmations in the recent document where it says that the Titans managed to pacify everything through oppression. This means that their entire solution was essentially a band-aid that would eventually break and no one would really know what was really going on. Now, furthermore, this leads us into Dragonflight. We have the most recent hint from the old gods themselves. We have her dreams sing beneath the surface, our dreams, our song. This literally would confirm that the corruption process is near completion because Azeroth is dreaming the old god dreams. She is essentially almost an old god. Then we have the recent thing about Ridicron. You will follow him into deep places, that dark waters will flow in his wake. Dark waters, even more interestingly, refers to this, what hides beyond the waves, and Ridicron might have figured out this little Titan secret and what was really going on. This could realistically be the biggest thing that the Titans hid even from the Keepers and their followers, because no one in their right mind would build civilizations or try to make any progress in a world that is essentially doomed. The Titans did a band-aid thing, tried to study it, figure out the problem, but then they disappeared, and now the time has been ticking ever since, and we might be close to this new reveal. Of course, I gotta admit, this is definitely an outlandish theory. It is kind of all over the place, but it isn't really that crazy of a reach. There are definitely a lot of these hints and facts that the theory could stand on. Maybe not all of it would be true, but some aspects. For example, Azeroth is not an old god, but it was essentially corrupted, and that could lead to future storylines. Thank you for watching. Check out what could be the next expansion after Dragonflight by clicking on the screen, and check out the Nodes Academy for videos on real-world history. See you next time!